The Cybertruck does a whole lot of things right and a few things that could be a little bit better. Benchmarking firms like Monroe & Associates and Caresoft have been tearing into them and giving us a peek behind the curtain. So let's find out what they're doing that's amazing and what they're doing that could be a little bit better. I'm Brian. Welcome to Futuraza. Joining me this week to have a chat about it is Mark from The Tesla Life. He is part of a podcast every week for 357 weeks now, something crazy like that.
Something like that.
It's been a little while. Casey and Patrick do great work, and Patrick is practically my neighbor. Never met him in person, but I will be meeting Mark coming up in June in Muskegon. I should mention, for fun, I'm heading out of town shortly for the European Takeover. This is a big event. It's going to be May 24th through 26th in Flachau, Austria, and it's huge. It's going to be so much fun. It's the biggest one in Europe, and there's quite the lineup. John Stringer from the Silicon Valley Owners Club. K10 will be there. Best in Tesla. All kinds of folks. Some you've heard of, some you haven't. And they put My Tesla Weekend on there, but you know who I am. I will be there. And Jan from TeslaFix, of course. Tesla Boomer Mama. Very cool. All kinds of great folks. It's going to be a lot of fun. Join us if you can. So with that said, let's get into that video. This is John McElroy from Autoline. I got to meet him recently at CES. That was fun. But anyway, this video here is a little bit sped up. Right here, one of the first things is he's talking about the rear casting. Let's just take a listen.
It's dunnage. It needs to be shipped. It needs to be received. All the costs associated with every part. And so one part's better than 70. and that's what they did.
Okay, one part is better than 70. We're talking about the rear casting on the Model Y. Because first we're talking about the Model Y a little bit. Now, how many parts can you eliminate by going to do the same kind of thing with the front casting? Any guess?
I believe it was even more than 70. I think it was a...
Not only did they have the rear casting, but this is when they introduced the front casting.
And this is just like a year apart or so, something like that. Yeah. That is amazing. Yeah.
And so now you can see this front casting. Before we get too far, John, from a safety perspective, we ask our associates to wear PPE when we're around the body in white, especially these castings, and you need to trust me on that.
Yeah, it gets real sharp. But also look at that cool middle assembly there. Let's turn the sound back on.
Ended up with an industrial paper cut. I mean, it was a sled. It's like, wow.
So good.
So we wear Kevlar when we're around the body in white. And if you don't have sleeves, then we have Kevlar sleeves that we wear. But interesting, as they came forward then with the 2022, we not only saw the rear casting, but now the introduction of the front casting. And if that took 70 parts out of the body shop, this took 360 parts out of the body shop.
Wow. Triple.
360 fewer parts. Less machines, less tolerances to measure, less everything. And again, you saw that super cool, that neat assembly that's in the... This is a sub-assembly that just pops in as one piece.
Yeah, they talked about how it's built modularly, so the factory workers can just go in and slap the piece in between the frame, bolt it in, and it's done, and it becomes structural.
Exactly. So let's jump over here.
Cost out by design. Also, as you see with the casting, they're also able to take cost out because it's an enabler for a modular build. This entire module right here is the HVAC module. So the compressor, the evaporators, the octovalve, the heat pump, all these pieces, they're right there. And it just comes in and sets right there. And there are 4 vertical bolts that secure it. And so because it's this front module, you can walk right up here. Operators can access everything right here, and then to continue to build the modules from the ductwork, the HVAC, right down out to the frunk and the front bumper. It all just assembles. So
I don't know if you've ever worked in manufacturing, or I don't know if you've ever built a model. Have you ever built a model, Mark?
Oh yeah, many.
You ever seen somebody try and build a model without using the instructions?
Yeah, my brother.
My brother too. He had a hot rod model and he wanted to build it. So he started building it the way he would build it and got halfway into it and abandoned it because what a mess it was. This is designed to be so easy Not just, I mean, in terms of absolutely everything. It's elegant. It's simple. If we want to make a car cheaper, this is how we're doing it, right? And we're going to get up to the Cybertruck.
And there'll be plenty.
Yeah.
Now, when we turn to the Cybertruck, we see the castings on steroids. This is taking this technology and taking it even further. As you can see here, a front casting, it's larger. Where in this one, the front, there was a crush can here, essentially, to manage low speed type accident. And if you get into this, you just have to 2 bolts, take this piece out. The casting comes all the way to the front. You can see it's essentially corrugated, so it's designed to accordion and
To
absorb
crush
these
in
and
an
crush
impact.
appropriately in a safe manner. But this comes all the way out here. Some people raise the concern, well, low speed damageability requirements in Europe and such things. I don't think you're going to see many of these in Europe.
Yeah.
So he doesn't think you'll see many in Europe. To be determined. What is the point of having a bigger casting, Mark?
Save even more cost, make it even quicker to put together.
Well, why didn't they just start with a bigger cast?
Well, you can't start at the end goal because you have to learn things along the way. Tesla has done this. Look where they came from. The original megacast came from the back of a Model 3 and then a Y, and now all the way up to the Cybertruck. And there's been iterations all the way along the line. Tesla learns and then they adapt. And if they see something working correctly, they expand upon it and expand upon it and expand upon it. So it's a process. It's an iteration. It has to be done that way if you're going to follow the correct path that is helping you.
When I toured Monroe last year, I had a chance to talk with Corey Steuben, who was still there, and he showed me the original rear casting for the Model Y was 2 pieces that were bolted together in the middle. And he said, if you look over here, you'll see it's 1 piece. And not only is it 1 piece, it's larger. It goes farther to the back of the vehicle. More components have been removed from other processes. And that made it kind of better. So you're right. You have to walk before you can run, which leads us to
Yeah.
Modular approach. You can get right up to the front of dash in this design. Operators can get right here. You can see this beautiful casting here that comes in, and this like that. It's actually the entire HVAC module
Oh my
again.
gosh.
You can see in our Iceberg platform the data that we take all these things apart, and you can see how it all goes together. But it just comes in, same, sets right.
Look at these straight lines. Look at these. You've looked under the hood of cars before and seen what an absolute mess it can become. They've gotten better, but especially you remember what it looks like under the hood of a 60s car. It's a block with a few things attached.
Yeah.
And then once all the emissions controls came in and they didn't know how to do it, there were hoses and wires, and it was an absolute spaghetti mess down there. And this is tidy. This is orderly. It's all the runs are short.
Yeah, they're trying to use up the least amount of space as possible because, of course, extra length costs money. So why not make it more efficient?
Right. And it adds weight. You saw with the teardown Monroe did of the Ford Mach-E, he said just the extra fluids that have to fill all these hoses adds like 40 pounds to the car. It matters. The weight matters. The weight costs money.
Right in here are 4 bolts. There are little
4
tabs
bolts
here. There's a fork here. It goes over this tab. This moves up, just hits that. It's in place. Drive 4
So kind of
bolts.
pokey-oka. Just
Pokey
slam it
oka.
in there. It's good to go.
It's just right there.
Yeah.
So this one's a V. That slides in. This comes up. Run your bolts.
How would you describe that?
It's drop dead simple. If you're able to just put that component on the top, it fits into a couple of divots inside of the casting, and it sits by itself, and you drop your bolts in. Boom, tighten them, you're done. Structural member in place.
Yes. So now let's head to the back of the vehicle. And maybe this is inside the vehicle. Here we go.
All the A-surface things
yes.
are just for pretty. That's it. They're just
Okay.
aesthetics. They
So he just said the A surface, which is the outside sheathing, is just for aesthetics. It's not serving a structural purpose. In the door panels, that's half true. It does take the place of a lateral bar that prevents side intrusion, but It was originally supposed to be the structure, and you can tell from looking at this, that's the structure right there. It's got the structure. Do you think, now we're talking about what's great about this and what could be better, do you think they could reduce the thickness of the stainless so that it's still strong enough that it doesn't warp on its own, doesn't easily get destroyed, but sheds a whole lot of weight?
Yeah, that would be ideal, wouldn't it? To lose a bunch of weight on this heavy vehicle, because that, of course, would help everything. Definitely. The iterations in the Cybertruck, again, this is a first generation vehicle. They are going to learn a ton of information from the vehicles that are already been sold and are sending data back to Tesla. And I can guarantee you they're looking for ways to shave weight off of this vehicle.
Now, one thing we talked about in another video that hasn't run yet about the Nissan Ariya and the Toyota BZ4X, the Buzz Forks, is that they have so many different options packages. All of those add cost. Listen to this.
Is that for, you think, repairability, or just they got so much structure in here they didn't need structure for the body panels?
It's part of the unboxing process. So how do I drive the cost out? How do I get it so it's faster and less cost? And again, it's all in. It's a system. The fact that you get a glass roof or you don't get a vehicle, you get one. Any color you want. Well, it's black. You get one. Well, that means from a body shop perspective, I don't have to schedule these things in. And some have sunroofs, some have power sunroofs, some have glass.
They're all the same.
All the same. Boom, and that keeps the cost down.
It keeps the cost down. Less options is sometimes better.
Yeah, no forks in the assembly line. Everything just flows and follows the same way. Every employee is doing the same operation over and over again. There's no deviation. It makes it simple.
It means that, in theory, you could have a couple dozen cars on the lot and have literally one of every configuration in every color possible. The Cybertruck comes in 2 configurations, period. They added a new color. 4 configurations. And I guess if you want to say the wheels as well, okay, 8 configurations. But 8 to cover every single options package imaginable is very, very low. That is something that keeps your inventory under control and all that. Am I missing anything on the sunroof simplicity? The sky?
No, what's going on here though as well is that again, first generation vehicle, Tesla needs to get this ramped up and pushed out quicker and quicker. So they need it as simple as possible. In the future, Cybertruck will have more options, just like all the other vehicles started to add more options after they got the run rate up to where they needed to, and everything was flowing along nicely.
Exactly.
I don't need it where I don't need it, and I find that magic combination. In fact, if you look right here on the rocker, there's these little patches here. You see here, here, and here. Well, those are lining up. Remember when we looked at the battery and we saw the structure on the bottom of the battery that went cross car?
Right.
That's right where those end.
Oh.
So as this rocker comes into that, it was probably too hard. So this is a softer steel. It digs in. It says, okay, just try to push this now instead of sliding off. And you can see just the application of those. To your point earlier, if we look at the...
So what did you catch what he's saying there?
They added a different type of steel to the side. So if there was a side impact, I'm guessing,
Yes.
The battery would not jolt out of position. It would dig into the steel and again be more structurally sound.
Right. It holds the form it was meant to instead of popping open like a can. You don't want that to happen. When you squeeze your Pringles can, the top pops off. Let's not do that while a car is intruding into your cabin. And what he asked about is, well, why didn't they just put it on the battery? And he said, I'm sure they thought to, and the simulation said it would work this way, but it didn't. So that's a little bit of improvement. That little thing that they add on will be gone soon. That'll be moved to a place where it's easier to ensure perfection on every run. Crazy.
Where the shoulder belt, or the seat belt and shoulder belt attach, okay, we have steel. This is going to take the shoulder belt loads. There's some big bits and put that in. Also, you notice from a casting perspective, the
So
rear
these
seat
pieces.
expansion is now casting. In fact, a very clever casting, because the left hand and right hand, as well as the adjoining bracket front and back, they're all one part.
These are the same part twice. This and this are the same part twice.
Yep, simplicity, order more of the same part, and it doesn't matter how you assemble it. The left and the right doesn't matter. Just put it in place, bolt it, you're done.
Mm-hmm. And it's simpler is better. Fewer parts is better. If you need to order a cajillion of something, boy, could you imagine if you ran short on lefts and had too many rights? I've worked in situations where we've had that happen, and you're in a restaurant folding silver, and I've got 5,000 forks and no spoons. What happened?
Yeah.
And the answer is it's apparently, according to the distributor, it's too easy to accidentally throw a spoon away because they slide off plates. Did not know. Quite a racket they've got going there. True story. Now, one thing that was surprising to me when seeing the early body in white, it was very confusing, was the D pillar. That's the pillar all the way back at the back corner of the car, is how big these guys are.
Yeah.
And so you can see where they're utilizing that strategy.
And this, by the way, this is a casting, this is a casting, and these are two more castings. So that further convinces me that they really wanted the stainless to be the structure, and it just could not.
Yeah, because these other pieces had to be integrated into the design to make the body rigid. The stainless was not going to do it alone.
Yeah. And you could argue that the sail that's attached to this bolt and this bolt here and these ones over here, that those provide structural support for the outside to keep the very back tailgate area from buckling a little. But this has so much structure in it, I just don't see that being the problem. I'm not sure what this is for, but it is to me evidence that they probably should thin down the skin a little bit. It would definitely not be bulletproof anymore, but I don't know how many buyers actually need that feature. And those who do, I imagine their assassins would know to use a higher caliber round.
I have a feeling that back piece is used for somewhat of the structure of the tailgate. That this truck's going to have, when the tailgate is down, it can flop a little bit, and that probably helps with that side-to-side motion.
Oh, the lateral sway.
These things are so weird. What is
this is, again, they've taken casting. Now this is a casting welded to a casting, and they attach it. So I don't know if it's afterthought or we wish we'd had or for whatever reason, but they end up with all this structure back here. So that D pillar is bulletproof structure.
Yeah, it is a very strong one. There were people who would see this line and not recognize that it follows this line and think, oh, maybe this is a van. But no, it's not.
It certainly is unusual, like the underpinning. But of course, once you put the pieces of stainless on top of it, this all disappears. So it can be anything as long as it's supporting that structure. It can be completely different, which it is.
Yes, and it works. But we were hoping that the Cybertruck would be our initial estimates. A lot of us who were crunching numbers were thinking it would be 1,000 pounds lighter than the competition. And depending on the model you're looking at, it is 1,900 pounds lighter than the Silverado. But we thought it would be more comparable to an actual king cab kind of pickup. But it is heavier than I was expecting, certainly.
The D pillar is bulletproof structurally. It's not connected here, but then again, all the bending wants to take place at the end of that pillar. So this is probably not that important. Plus you got the box inner. Really, from a structural perspective, you look at this casting, and this is, again, another gargantuan casting. Goes all the way up to the pillar.
Man,
and
it's
all the way back to the
gigantic.
rear. It's absolutely gigantic.
So right here, again, why didn't they just do bigger castings early?
I think we answered this, Brian.
The machines didn't exist. The 6,000 ton press didn't exist, and this needs a 9,000 ton press.
Exactly. You can't start at the end goal. You have to work your way up.
I still see periodically on Reddit and X people trying to argue with me that I told them they should have done the compact first. The unboxed a year or 2 years ago, right? There weren't enough batteries in the world to ramp the kind of numbers we're hoping for from the unboxed 2 years ago. There are today, but it wasn't foreseeable. We believed all those batteries would be spoken for. And the lessons learned that lead to unboxed are right here in front of us.
And just like they showed in this video earlier, when they showed the two Model Ys that were just 2 years apart or less,
Yeah.
these are things that they've learned, that they've iterated and made changes to and improved. And this is just the way Tesla works. This is the way any successful manufacturer works. They see what actually works in their product. They see what's better. They see what doesn't work, and they make changes.
So I had a chance to experience my first service issue on my car. I did a software update, and it locked me out. It just kept trying to reboot, and it wouldn't. And I had I had about 500 people suggest just hold down both buttons until it resets. Okay, I assure you, I have tried that. That did not work. I was finally able to get the frunk popped to see if I could disconnect the 12 volt. Maybe that'll do it. And I couldn't find the 12 volt. I'd taken the trim piece off and I couldn't find it. So I went online and searched Model Y 12 volt battery location, and it's right there. It's not right there, I promise you. And I found that they have moved it like 3 or 4 times to change not just the size of the battery twice and then to a much smaller lithium ion battery, but also the location of it keeps moving to make room for different things that need to be there. That's why my car has the what do you call it? The biodefense mode, when some of the early ones didn't. But everything is constantly changing. And that's annoying when you're me trying to find the 12 volt disconnect, but at the same time, it's under warranty, so who cares? But I'd have liked to have been able to do that. And you're right, everything changes so quick. Last thing I want to show you, this is fun. This is from the inside of the fender. The fender, of course, has to have an inner. A steel inner, and they gave us a little Easter egg.
From the front fender here, that you have the stainless steel, which of course is the whole story of the Tesla bodies, all the stainless.
Right.
But the work's being done back here.
But the black metal's not
Steel black,
stainless.
nope.
Oh.
So it's stamped, and then it is essentially glued. There's an adhesive that
Structural adhesive.
Structural
puts
adhesive.
it together.
Yeah.
And I love how they stamped in this little sort of Easter egg of the Cybertruck.
And the
Thor's hammer.
yeah, that's what it definitely looks like, is Thor's hammer. I was going to say cyber hammer, but this one's more bulbous and I guess veiny than a cyber hammer.
Fucking, this is some sort of hammer?
I don't.
What was it? Some kind of hammer? Yes, John. Yes, that's what it is. There was a guy in England who would spray paint whenever there was potholes. He would spray paint a Thor's hammer over it, so that the town council would have to come out and fill the pothole to get rid of the cyber hammer. And they never found out the gentleman's identity who was doing this, but they nicknamed him Wanksy, because that's street art, and I can't say I understand all art, but I think I got that one pretty well.
Now, did you hear in the video they also said that the exterior stainless steel is attached to that piece with some sort of glue?
It is glued on.
That's amazing that they're actually gluing the exterior panels to this interior steel.
I don't know everything about glue, but I know there are types of glue that when they are set for good, that they will get into every bit of surface area and bond in ways that make separation effectively impossible. I imagine that's what they're using, and I imagine there have been times when they bonded the panels together in such a way that made them curse before throwing them in the recycle.
Yeah.
because you don't always get a second shot on those. Precision equipment. What are some ways that we just saw that would make this that will make the Cybertruck better on the next iteration if it isn't already, do you think?
Oh, it's the weight certainly would be something to be able to shave if you could. As you mentioned, if you could thin the stainless steel somewhat, that would shed a lot of weight. And since it's not supporting anything, all you have to make sure is that it doesn't bend in the wind. That would be the only concern with that. But also the giga castings that we saw in the vehicle, they showed a number of spots where it could be trimmed, it could be made smaller, or it could be added to the process of another casting to avoid the extra piece that was added. So
Just be part of the cast.
there's many times that they indicated that this looks like an afterthought because, of course, they were iterating as the design was coming into the first version.
If we look right here, we will see this is the a mounting for the motors, I guess. And John asked him, why isn't this integrated into the casting? And like you were just saying, they probably meant to, got this far and realized we don't have time to go back and redesign the casting. Buckle it on. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It's an inefficiency. You're probably adding $50, $80, maybe $100. We can handle that on early run while we get it dialed in, because we might need to redo the casting more completely and thoroughly than that. Let's do it all at once. And I tell you, this scalloped design here, this corrugated design to enable this to be a crush can, and you see the dimensions of the corrugation changes as it goes in, so that this will fold easier than this, will fold easier than this, until you get to here where there's just no more folding to be done. So it's a gradual increase in failure.
Yeah.
Can you see anything else? Yeah, the motor mounts. I said the battery buffer bits. Oh yes, the ones inside the door, where they could slide
Where they
out.
added the extra steel material
Right.
so that the battery wouldn't jump out of place in a side impact.
Right. So I wonder what additional efficiencies they're looking at. I'm going to be in Michigan. I hope to get a chance to meet with the Caresoft crew and talk to them to answer one question a number of people have had. Why doesn't the back window roll down? It's because of the shape of this wall. This window is flat and then this curves in. You can see how it curves in on the side. The window would have to curve also. So the question is, do you sacrifice bed space, or do you sacrifice cabin space? Or do you just make it so it slides? And I got to say, this bead of caulk is pretty loosey-goosey. That looks hand applied quickly.
And it might have been because, of course, with the early versions of this vehicle, everyone's really testing out things as assembly happens. And as you mentioned with the front motor castings, is that they're on the fly saying, you know what, we can't go back and redesign this. Let's just make it work. And the next run that we do, we'll have the new part ready and it'll be smoother.
Love it. Can you think of any other efficiencies we might see based on this video we just watched? Because I kind of don't.
Yeah, I think that's a good wrap up of what they have going on here. It's again, I can say it again. It's iteration over and over, seeing what works and applying based on that.
Guys, we have gone on too long. This has been crazy. Companies like Caresoft sell their teardowns. They do great work. Folks like Autoline have a list of sponsors a mile long, but I do not. So if you get a chance and you got a few bucks, every bit helps. Or, if you can't, I understand times are tough. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, answer some of our burning questions. Give us your thoughts on what efficiencies you expect to see. Maybe head on over to the Tesla Life and see what old Mark is up to there. They had a great show this last week. Talk talking about a variety of things, including Casey's big new project coming up, which I am excited about. So what did we miss? What did we misunderstand? Leave it into them comments below and stay tuned, stay juicy, and I cannot wait to hear from you clever robots on the Flippity Flop.